Hello fellow book nerds, this is Gabby and today we're going to be talking about The Secret History. So, bit of a new location, bit of a new theme for a video. We'll see how this works out. I'm just experimenting here. But like I said, I want to do my first ever dedicated review and it is for The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I'm kind of up in the air about how I even feel about this, so we shall see. I feel like The Secret History has been quite a popular book on booktube. I have seen a lot of booktubers talk about it, in particular Meg from Meg with Books. She has said that this is her favorite book of 2019 and I was really intrigued because I've seen it around but never heard that much love for it. But then I have also realized this book was released in 1993, so it's not a new book, it's been around for a while and I just had a copy, so I decided to give it a try and I have complicated thoughts. So let's start with a little synopsis, why won't we? This book is centered around dark academia. So if you don't know, dark academia is an aesthetic that revolves around classic literature, the pursuit of self-discovery and a general passion for knowledge and learning. And it's very accurate in this one because we follow Richard, who just started university in Vermont. In this school, the Greek professor only takes on 5 students every year, and if you take Greek you have to abandon all other subjects you do and you only live under this professor. This professor's current plethora of students, let's call it, is quite enigmatic. We have a lot of weird characters there and they stick out quite a lot, and Richard feels exceptionally fascinated by them and he really wants to get involved.
Totally. Who are they?
And one day he gets an opportunity and he joins the Greek class. This is just the catalyst for so many other weird and just messed up things happening. The first chapter we find out that they have murdered someone and we kind of go back to the past and find out why, how, what's up. I'm new to dedicated reviews, so I'm gonna have a couple of categories in which I talk about the book. So the first one I want to touch upon is writing. This book has really, I don't want to say pretentious, but it's a bit pretentious writing, and it makes sense because the characters in this are pretentious. They think they're better than everyone. I mean, they are the ones doing classics, aren't they? So there was at least one word I didn't know on each page, but I really didn't mind. I think like it added to the prestige and the supposed intelligence of the main character. It really showed intelligence and the higher state of being of these characters, and I learned some new words, so that's always fun. It wasn't flowery, I wouldn't say. It was quite straightforward, but there was times when the main character would kind of go on these, not rants, but diversions and talk about something for a long time that may not seem that relevant or whatever. Additionally, as I said, we open with a prologue happening kind of in the future. There's a lot of things like, oh, in hindsight, now thinking about it, I realize, you know, that kind of language, so you know that the character is recounting the story from the future. This kind of takes me into plot. I don't know how to talk about this in a structured way, but there's so many things about this book that the plot is connected to the themes, and I'm gonna talk about the themes in a second. But I thought the plot was really interesting. I really enjoyed the feeling of foreboding since we start knowing that someone's getting murdered and we even know who it is and kind of how a little bit, but we don't know why, and you can just see the events and the beats that really lead up to this conclusion, and you know that one of the characters is doomed from the beginning. So it's really cool seeing all these things that contributed to the character's death, and you really have this feeling of just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You feel like something's gonna happen in a second, even when it feels like we're in the clear. Probably the biggest part of this book, for me at least, were the characters. They really are the catalyst for everything that's happening, and they are their personalities and their thinking and all of that. It really is the driving force of the plot, so really it's more about them. First of all, everyone is awful. Like, everyone is awful. There's not a good person in this group. I don't think so, at least. That all of them have such questionable morality that, and I'm not even talking about grey morality, I'm just talking about like questionable choices they made. Like I said before, they are all quite enigmatic and they all a personality, if you want to call it that, and they are quite ostracized from the rest of the students, and the more we learn about them, kind of the more we understand, and we also see how the main character changes his thinking and also changes himself a little bit, and also how he distances himself from everyone else and just kind of goes with what's happening. We have 6 main characters, I would say, but we really only hear from Richard, who's the main character and whose perspective we're reading, and we only get to see the other characters through Richard's point of view. And I think that was an interesting choice as well, because we don't really understand their motivations, and Richard for the majority of the story is the outsider, so we're not privy to their circle of friends, because they have known each other for years before Richard came into the picture. And you can really tell that they are very close to each other. They have really weird bonds with each other, and you feel also like an outsider, just like Richard, because what you know about them really isn't the full extent of the information. And I think that's the reason why a lot of the characters feel a little bit like archetypes, or just these untouchable, enigmatic personas, but not actual humans. That's how Richard sees them, at least at the beginning. But you can really see how this bunch of awful people could become friends with each other, and you are kind of empathizing with them towards the end. At least I feel like I was. The character that dies, I hated him with my whole soul, because he just was the type of person I really don't like. So I feel like they lure you into kind of agreeing with what they're doing because he's so annoying, but at the same time you know what they're doing is so wrong. So definitely I think the strongest point of this book is definitely character work and characterization of everyone, because it's just so crucial to understanding the book and understanding the characters. Lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about themes. This book is centered around ancient Greek, and I did feel like this was a bit of a Greek tragedy. So in Greek tragedies, you kind of know that this is not a happy story, and there is this feeling of foreboding and fate that the main characters can't escape. It's not exactly like that here. I feel like fate has less to do with it rather than just poor decision making, but you do feel like, because you know what's gonna happen, there's this feeling of something's gonna go wrong. This is something that cannot be dodged or changed because you know what's happening. So it does feel like fate has a little bit of hand in it. And lastly, there was even a mention of Dostoevsky and Crime and Punishment, and I really got the same vibes from them as I did when I was reading Crime and Punishment. So if you don't know, Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky is a story of a man who commits a murder. It's kind of spirals from then, his guilt, but also inability to do anything. It just all feels very tragic, really. I kind of hate Crime and Punishment because I hate the main character, but that's besides the point for this one. I just feel like it was very reminiscent of that feeling of not being able to deal with your own actions and not being able to make yourself justify what you've done. So I feel like the main character does feel a little bit of that guilt, but then keeps doing bad things and then feels bad about it. And I feel like that was something that the main character in Crime and Punishment also did. He kept doing these awful things and then feeling really, really bad and guilty about it, but then he just kept doing it. So since I finished this book, I kept asking myself, but do I like it? Did I enjoy it? What should I give it? And I still feel a little bit conflicted because I did really enjoy the book. While I was reading it, I couldn't put it down. I was just so hooked. I had to know what was going to happen. So for that reason, I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really good. But on the other hand, there were some things about this book, like the use of F slur for gay people and just a lot of kind of questionable choices. There's some content warnings in here. I don't really want to say what for because I guess it's a bit of a spoiler, but it just stuff got weird. It got weird. So this book did not fail to shock me and disgust me, but it made me really care but also despise the characters at the same time. So it was really successful in doing that, and all in all I did enjoy it. I'm thinking I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 stars. It might not be for you because it's kind of a study of morality, but also what we're willing to do to save our own asses and what we're willing to do for others, how quickly our values can just disappear and it's like they were never here. So it's a very complex, really really interesting story that I would highly recommend if you're into that kind of exploration of morality, but shit got weird, okay? Okay, that's it for my first ever dedicated review. I really hope you enjoyed it. So let me know if you enjoyed it, if I should do more. I really want to do some dedicated reviews, especially for books that are just coming out, so some new releases. Please, if you could give it a thumbs up and comment and subscribe, that would help me so much. But otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye! This is inevitable.